So before we get started with this episode, I had to be honest with you guys. We made a big mistake, a big lapse in judgment we had with this episode. I don't want to spoil and give it away, but I messed up on this one. All right. So if you guys don't catch it, I'm gonna let you guys in on how the mistake went at the end of the episode. But tune in, still a really good episode. But I made just a huge judgment. As soon as we got done recording, I sat down, I was like, man, can't believe I just did that. So, not gonna spoil it for you guys, but thank you guys for tuning in and watching. It's a good talk about why don't the great players transition to being great coaches and so on and so forth. So, but that's it. Thank you for tuning in. See you at the end of the episode. Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the BeBall Jones podcast. This is a podcast where we have beautiful discussions and debates. We have lovely topics. We have interviews, and it's just an all-around great discussion around the game of basketball. And it's interesting because, we have a trainer, then we have the reigning Peach Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Year. That is Nelson Haskin right there, just in case you didn't know. Just letting you know. So,
Yes,
what's up, man?
Nothing much, man. How you doing?
I'm great, brother. I really can't complain, man. I'm grateful for every day, everything that's coming to me, man. It's beautiful over here.
Hey, man. Love to hear that, man. Just glad to be in the number. That's what my
Hey,
coach said to me all the time.
that's what the old folks say in the church, man. I'm just glad to be in the number.
Hey, boy, my favorite one is glad to be on top of the ground and not under it.
Yep.
That's my favorite one. I'm going to use that. Well, I can't wait to get old to use that one.
I'm gonna try to come up with one when I hit that age, probably around 50s, maybe 60s. Start like, well, I don't know. We might be different by the time we hit that age. Like 50 might be like the 30.
We still hooping and jump.
Exactly, bro. Like, cause Dr. J said he was dunking till he was 63. So I'm just like, let's see what you doing. Cause I'm trying to be like you. I can't dunk now, but the point is, I'm gonna be healthy when I'm that old.
I feel it though. Hopefully we keeping it going.
Yeah, to some extent, might not be able to be, top tier, but I'm gonna be better than the 50-year-olds now and stuff. Anyway, this ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about today. Completely went left field, but anyway, man. Today we're talking about the enigma around the NBA in particular. We could stretch it to college game. I'm a little loud, so I'm gonna try to turn it down. So we could stretch it out to college game a little bit, and we probably would get into like the other tiers of upper management of pro game, but specifically talking about the coaches. We have seen time and time again great Hall of Fame legendary player transition to, a couple seats over from player to coach. And we've seen a lot of people, elevate to that position in that seat and burn and crash pretty harshly. And today we're going to discuss why that happens. Like, why don't the GOATs and the great players, the Hall of Famers, the superstars, why don't they transition to being a legendary Hall of Fame coach too? Like, how are you up here as a player, but less than that as a coach? So I want to get your thoughts on that, man, of why we don't see more GOATs and more legendary guys transition to be great coaches as well. So what are your thoughts on that, man?
It's interesting because I think most people would say the guys who are playing the most minutes don't become the greatest coaches because they didn't see their coach the most, and they say that guys, that spent more time on the bench actually, saw the coach making adjustments and the things that their coach did game wise and stuff like that, and therefore they can become great coaches because they saw coaches before them and saw it more often. And I've never really thought that was right. You know what I'm saying? Because in a way, like this is how I think about it. Just because you're on the bench doesn't mean you pick up on what the coaches are doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like by that logic, wouldn't every bench player have like great IQ and like I don't know, just know everything? Like, don't you feel like
Yeah.
that should be the case? Because like it's funny though, because like I'll give you a story. I usually try to throw out a story every episode. I remember this game, my first year here at Columbus. We was playing a conference game. I want to say we were playing against Lander. Yeah, school called Lander. So back in this time, I'm not as good. I wasn't as good then as I am now.
Mm-hmm.
But he used to take me out like in crunch time, like offense, defense, because I was a good defensive player, but I couldn't shoot free throws that well. And 9 times out of 10, I wasn't gonna get you a bucket if it came down to it. So, he would take me out on the offensive end and put in like another shooter or another scorer. And then we try to go defense. If he had the opportunity, he put me back in to get a stop. Feel me? So this is one of them times where like they I think we had just got to stop. No, they had just scored and they went up by one, and it was like 10 some seconds left, close game, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Coach says, "Take the ball out, run it up here, call timeout right here next to me." Point guard does exactly what he told him to do, ran it up there, call timeout. I'm not in the game. I came out. So I'm standing behind him just in case, he tells me to go in real quick because, I've been going back and forth. So I'm standing like right behind him. He said, so point guard runs the ball up the court real fast, calls timeout. When he calls timeout, he said, all right, y'all sit down. He already had the clipboard in his hand. He said, all right, y'all sit down. And so he was turning around to go to, stand in front of the team. I'm right behind him. And funny thing about my coach, he called himself Doc Rivers all the time. He
Mm-hmm.
think he Doc Rivers. That's his favorite name for himself. Now that ain't such a great thing anymore for somebody, but that's another story.
Yeah, that's another episode.
But he stayed calling himself Doc Rivers. So he turned around. I was right there. I said, "Take it home, Doc." And I stuck my fist out like that. And he said, "I got you, boy." Fist bump me. And boy, I'd be doggone if he ain't draw up a play and the play worked exactly how he said it, and we got a bucket, won the
Mm-hmm.
game. So I got my little experience of like being on the bench. I got to see his thought process. Like, okay, I'm going to tell him to come over here, call timeout next to me. That allowed him to call the play based on what he could see from this angle, like from the angle that he was at. He knew exactly where to call it from, this and that. And now, but even now, while I'm playing a lot of minutes, I still usually know what he's trying to do. It
Mm-hmm.
don't. I feel so now. It changes my aspect of it. Like, I feel like it doesn't have nothing to do with whether or not you're on the bench a lot or not, or whether you're playing a lot. I feel like it's more about whether you know your coach and understand what he's trying to do. Feel me? But I think personally, guys that get a lot of minutes don't, or great players don't become great coaches because 9 times out of 10 they're not going to coach somebody as good as them or as good as they were. Like Michael Jordan is never going to coach another Michael Jordan, and neither is Bill Russell. Neither is like I'm trying to think of another great player that became a coach. Like Patrick Ewing is coaching now at Georgetown. He's not gonna coach another Patrick Ewing 9 times out of 10. So he like his expectations for guys is probably way higher than they can actually probably manage to do. And then and you were trained, you probably been here where it's like, all right, I want you to do this move and score here, use this 10, whatever. And then they miss 3 times in a row, and you be like, is this did I ask him to do something too hard? Like
Mm-hmm.
you ever had that moment?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that's what they probably go through. Like Magic Johnson becoming a coach, his point guard turned the ball over. We probably like, man, you ain't see him right there.
Yeah.
Like, no, Magic, he didn't see him across the court behind his head.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's part of it. Is like, man, their talent and their expertise at their position is high. And so 9 times out of 10, you becoming a coach, you're not gonna coach you. You're not gonna coach the guy that was as good as you. And so I
Right.
think that probably hinders them, and like that probably causes a disconnect when it comes to coaching. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you probably want things to go a certain way, but you got to understand the talent you have or the level of IQ on your team might not fit what you think should happen. And so I think that's probably what causes a little bit of the disconnect, just a little bit. Because like Magic Johnson has good IQ. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's gonna argue that he has high basketball IQ, but
Mm-hmm.
having high basketball IQ is not all that's involved in coaching, you know. And so I think that's the main thing. So what would you say is probably causing the biggest disconnect between great players and becoming great coaches?
Ooh, the biggest thing. I just wrote down a few thoughts of you know things that it could be.
Well,
I'm gonna
go
just
on, give me.
No, I'm gonna just piggyback off of what you said. So,
Okay.
you were saying the disconnect, and I think that's one of the factors that play a big role into it, is because um, when I forgot who I was listening to, man, but they like their understanding of the game and how they see the game is a whole world's different from how a role player sees the game. So Jordan, Kobe, Bron, if there's an issue going on in the court, their thought process is 9 times out of 10, what am I going to do? It's like,
Mm.
okay, we need a bucket. Phil, forget all that stuff, bro. Give me the ball. Like, chill out. Like, I don't care what you thought you finna call. This is the play call, bro. The play call is number 23, Michael Jordan. Forget that. Kobe, woo. Everybody saw Redeem. Woo. Hey, get the out the way. Get the heck out the way. Y'all. Woo. Hey, pal, Lamar. Hey, get out the way.
Four flat.
One like Gilbertina said, 1-4 flat. Give me the ball. Get out the way. Get all y'all out the way. That's the play call now. And I think that's kind of where most great players are. That's how they see the game. If something needs to happen, I'm going to fix this issue. Or I see how you play a role in me fixing this issue. So I know who the pieces are on the floor. I know how to manipulate it to where I can, have this right action or reaction and all that stuff. Like LeBron's a great manipulator of the game in a positive way. So I can manipulate the pieces to where this does that, and whatever. And at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, I can still solve this problem. Like I'm trying to be basketball savvy and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, I can solve the problem no matter what. So worst case scenario, Kobe finna shoot over 4 people. Okay, cool. Game winner over all four of y'all. Like this. And I think like you said, the disconnect is you can't teach that. You can kind of manipulate to where players kind of understand that, but you have to be like Jordan can teach Kobe because we're here, but Jordan can't teach I ain't trying to say no name because it's like it's
I was
disrespectful.
sure
But
when you.
yeah, I was like, I had a few names pop, but like, nah, I can't. I'm gonna just chill out. So Kobe can't teach. I mean, Jordan can't teach the other people who aren't on that tier because there's certain conversation and certain jargon that we use. Like if we step in the doctor's office and two doctors in there talking, but you speaking gibberish, you speaking a whole other language that I can understand. But that other doctor removes, and I'm in there now. He's dumbing down his language to where he's speaking my language I can understand now. But I think great players don't know how to dumb it down sometimes to where the rest of the guys can get it. So there's the disconnect there. But me being a role player, I've seen like some role players have seen every position in basketball. Like I was the best guy in college more than likely or high school. So I was the best guy somewhere along this ride of my basketball journey. Most guys are. Then I became number 2, 3 option at some point. Now I'm a role player here. So the great ones who are like a Steve Kerr, he was killing somebody at some high school. He was rocking somebody. Like somebody was getting lit up for 30 balls left and right. Went to Arizona with Luke, and he was a great player, obviously, because he did his thing, but he wasn't like a top lottery pick or nothing like that. He was just a solid player. Went to the league, he was the definitive role player. Like you sitting in the corner and I kick out to you when you got it. Like but he's seen every angle of the game now, so he can talk to some extent to what Jordan's going through. So I think that's the disconnect there that great players can't. Like LeBron's been number one since he came out the womb. He doesn't know what a number two is for him. Like that's just
Mhm.
he doesn't he doesn't connect to that. But as Steve Kerr says, I've been every one of you guys. So LeBron connects to a guy from starting five. I can connect with most of you guys, even on like a homeboy level. Yeah, but why are you struggling to come off the bench? All you have to do is shoot. I got you wide open pass. Why aren't you shooting the ball? Like, but Steve Kerr's like, man, I get you, bro. You come off the bench. I know it's difficult when you cold. Like, I understand, bro, because that was me. But he can also talk to the Stephens like, man, as a shooter, bro, I know I got you, man. Like, you just gotta, that's what you gotta do, man. Whatever. And so I think that's the disconnect that great players have because they don't fully understand how to connect 1 through 15. So when I've been 1 through 15, I know how to connect with 1 through 15. When you've been number one, worst case number two, if that, maybe. Like Magic might have been a number two to Kareem. Yeah, maybe. That's debatable. So it's like when most guys are only number one, I can't connect with everybody on the list. We might be homeboys, we might be cool, but when it comes to talking basketball, like you said, IQ is not everything because obviously they have great IQ. but it's a disconnect between how to talk and how to translate things to where they get it. So I think that's the one of the probably might be the biggest thing that I can think of. There's another one too. I'm getting to that later, but that's a big thing that I noticed is like the disconnect of the GOAT level Hall of Fame superstar players to the rest of the guys that are coaching. That's that the disconnect is a big thing that I see.
Man, that's good observation. I never thought about it like that. Like being a guy, like you, somebody like a Steve Kerr or somebody has been the guy at some point in his career, and he's also been a role player at some point in his career. So he knows what it takes to be every one of them. So
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, I never thought about it like that. That's probably exactly what it is. Like you've only been number one, so you can't really coach number 13. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? That's that's interesting. I never thought about that, but that sounds like that's a good observation. And I remember telling guys like, I got a homeboy over here. Now I'm fairly. It's fair to say that I'm established is the word I use. Did some things, won some awards. So I'm established.
Your OG.
I met. Yeah, I done made my place in the league. Especially in the Peach Belt. So I am established is the word I like to use. So I got a homeboy up here. He was a red shirt when he first got here. Now he's looking to, play, trying to have a jersey. Rightfully so, like anybody else. That's how he's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
feel. So he like, I remember one day we talking. I'm like, man, I'm telling him like, you got to slow down, dog. Like, it ain't gonna all happen at once. It's gonna come. Just trust it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just keep working. Your opportunity gonna be there, and you're gonna be all right. Just be ready when the opportunity comes. He like, man, I'm sick of not playing this and this and that. I ain't never just not been playing and
Mm-hmm.
all that. Like I'm trying to be like you. I want to play. I want to roll this and that. I want to affect winning. I said that's good, man. That's good. Like that's how you're supposed to feel. But just trust it. It's coming. But the thing was when he said I want to be like you, or I'm trying to be like you, and like play and affect the game. I said, bro, listen. You don't know this because you only know me as I am now. Like you got here and I was already, on the come up or whatever. But when
Mm-hmm.
I first got here, I was coming off the bench. And the dude I was coming off the bench for, like, we look at him now like, shoot, I mean, he all right, but nobody would say he was just like a super great player. Like he was just the best, you know what I'm saying? And I was coming off the bench. So what they say about
Mm-hmm.
me?
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't understand because you only see me for what I am now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you wasn't here when I was just like trying to figure it out. So and like, granted, I would never know red shirt. I ain't gonna never act like I know what that feel. I never just not been playing. But I understand what it's like to have to earn your way into a spot. You know what I'm saying? And just don't think I've always been defensive player of the year, leading the league in blocks, Nelson Haskell.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's all he had seen. I was like, nah, dog. When I first got here, I was splitting minutes. Like I was playing 18, 19, the other guy was playing 19, 20. So we splitting the minutes, almost down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't no playing 33, 34 minutes a game. Like, nah. You and him, y'all playing about the same amount. They couldn't really decide. I guess they couldn't decide which one of us was playing better. It was just going a day by day thing. Oh, Nelson scored a little bit. Let's keep him in here 20 minutes, 21 minutes maybe. It never got too crazy. I was like, man, I'm telling you, dog, just be patient. I had to be patient. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I knew I kept my head down. I kept working. My time was gonna come eventually, and I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't too concerned about that. And then, like, you know what? Then in the middle of it, yeah, I was frustrated a little bit, but I was like, you know, it's gonna come. That I'm telling you what I used to tell myself. Like, it's gonna
Mm-hmm.
come, dog. Just keep working. It's gonna come. And then eventually I started. And then the next year, I just told the story on here. That summer between my first year and the next year, coach coming to me and Hunter Preston talking about I'm not going to get another big. I feel like I got the two best bigs in the league. So what I waited on came, but I was ready for it when it came
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't give up on none of that. But I also didn't rush the process of it coming. I never forced my coach's hand. I never complained to him. None of that. I knew it was gonna come. I just worked for it, and so that's what I reiterated to him. But had always been the number one guy since I got here and before that and everything, I probably wouldn't have been able to know what to say to him. I probably wouldn't have known what to say to him. I probably would not have been able to like talk his language. Like, yeah, man, just keep
Mm-hmm.
working. You know, everybody say that. Just keep working, dog.
Yeah.
Don't nobody want to hear that, man.
Yep.
Don't nobody want to hear just keep working. I've
Mm-hmm.
been working for a long time. I had to let them know, like, man, at one point in time, I was trying to keep working too, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard, but it's gonna come though. And
Yeah.
maybe that is like the disconnect of like the Michael Jordans and the Kobe's and the guys like that becoming great coaches. It takes somebody like a Steve Kerr that was like, shoot, almost probably was out the league or something and had to like
Yep.
learn his
Yep.
role. Like
Yep.
those the guys that become good coaches. So man, that's a good one, boy. Hey, you said something then.
Look, let's be serious, man. Stop playing around. All right. You didn't got too comfortable. You didn't got relaxed. You forgot that you still got people behind you chasing you right now. You still got people to catch up to. You think just because you won a championship or you had a pretty good game last time that you can relax now. We ain't worry about none of that stuff. Your goal right now is to look at how you were yesterday. Look at the player you were last night. Figure out how to be better than that person. Right now is you versus you. Your goal right now is to make progress than the person that you were last night, the person that you were yesterday. Beat the person this week should be the person from last week. The person this month should be the person from last month. On the court and off the court. Personal development too. So right now, progress is the only goal. We ain't worried about what other people got going on. Focus on progress. It's you versus you. It's me versus me. So that right there is your mission. That's your goal. I don't care about who say the best in state is. Who I don't care about any of that. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. I don't care if you struggling to make the team. I don't care if you the last player they're looking at to make the team. We ain't worry about none of that. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. I don't care if you're the number one player in the nation. Could care less. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. So go ahead and get you one of these because you need that reminder because you got too comfortable. That's the issue. You got too comfortable. This can't get you comfortable right here. So go ahead, get you a reminder, get you like a flag hanging as a reminder to say progress is on the goal. I appreciate that, man. So I'm gonna get into my next thought about it. You kind of just touched on it, where this is where you do see a few outliers in this. Is because this is kind of a stigma around why big men. Well, it's not the full part, but part of it is the stigma around why big men would not have made great coaches. You feel me? So when you
Hmm.
look at what makes a player great, right? So yes, Jordan had the fundamentals and stuff, but what really made him special was his athleticism. You're
All
six
right.
six, you're jumping 40 inches, like you had this, you're an amazing athlete. Like take away the game of basketball, you're still an amazing athlete. You take away some of your skill, you are an amazing athlete. LeBron James, you're still jumping like maybe 40 inches. I don't know exactly what your vert is, but you're still jumping stupid to be 50 years old playing basketball in your 50th year. Like, you, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing? So, LeBron's IQ is amazing. Like, his photographic memory, all that stuff is stupid. But still, regardless, you're still a great athlete. Kobe Bryant was an average athlete to be quite. He was a little above average, just somewhat. He wasn't great, but because he had so much flair and flash and just like intensity with him is like a little more extra. And plus, it's Kobe, so we're gonna gas him up a little bit more. But he wasn't like, if you look at some of his jumps, he really wasn't jumping that crazy. Like, he wasn't just like, just. He had a couple nice dunks over people, of course, but it's like most of this stuff wasn't just like, did you see him jump from there? Like, he did what in the air? Like, he had a couple really good ones, but it wasn't like he wasn't just amazing Jordan, LeBron level dunking. Like he wasn't that level of athlete. And so that's
Right.
why Kobe transitioned to be a great coach because his athleticism isn't what made him so special. His skill did. How do you get skill? You train and work at it. You have to think the game through a whole different way when you're not athletic. So that's why sometimes you see that's why I go back to the big thing because bro, I'm 7 foot tall. If I turn, I'm right here at the rim. Like I'm 7 foot going against 6'10. Okay, you pretty decent, but worst case scenario, I can just skyhook over you. Like, so that's why it's like your IQ is not as sharp as a 6 foot 6'1" guy. Isaiah Thomas sees the game totally differently from how Magic saw it. But you're 6'9". The passes you make, 90% of the league can't make because you're 6'9". Well, 90% of the point guards can make because you're 6'9". Don't talk to me about passing, bro. You're not. We're not the same. You're amazing because I'm guarding you. I'm 6'1", bro. Like, stop the conversation right there. Like, what are we talking about? Like, not to discredit Magic was still an amazing gifted pass. I'm not trying to take away credit for that. But don't compare my passing to your passing because I'm 6'1" Isaiah Thomas. You're 6'9" Magic Johnson. We're seeing totally different angles. You're looking over the entire defense. You're only looking up to Kareem, whoever's guarding Kareem, and maybe our power forward. I'm looking under everybody. So my angles, I have to fight. I have to fight for my angles to see. I'm a little guard. I know this part of it. I have to fight for my angle. So I see something, but I can't just pass it over you. Worst case scenario, I have to create and like if I'm trying to pass you the ball in the post, I could easily just boom because I'm Magic Johnson. But no, I have to take two dribbles over, still step over and wrap it around to give you the best angle for a good pass. I can throw you a little ugly pass and you get out of position for it, but now you mad at me because I gave you ugly pass, you lost position, you fought hard for it, whatever. But think about how I just broke that down. I know how you feel because I've been in that situation to where I have to give you a perfect pass, right? Because I'm Isaiah Thomas at 6'1". Bill and Beer, I got you. But Rick Mahorn, I understand. John Sally, what's up, man? I got you. Magic, boom. So their greatness pulled away from part of their IQ, from their team IQ to an extent, because your
Mm.
greatness detached you from certain levels of skill. Jordan he did the post game into the skill. I mean, the athleticism start going down. So that's where some of the disconnect is too, because the greatness of their physicality or like Larry Bird is a great example too. He's so skilled at the game. Physically, he wasn't anything special, to an extent. I'll say that. But
Mm.
he wasn't an amazing athlete. What the higher level of athlete that we always see. So you could look deeper into other things that what made him a good athlete, but he like if you compare him to Jordan, that's not the same book we're reading. Like it's two different worlds. And so I feel like when you're talking about the great players like that, they can't translate that thing down to other players. I can't teach you how to pass when I'm 6'9". I can talk to LeBron, I can talk to Luca, Ben Simmons. After that, that's a very small list we're talking about with passing for me. Because I can't translate that to other people. I can't talk to Chris Paul about it as much. But Isaiah and Chris Paul, we Steve Nash, we right here. We good. Because our angles are different. And so sometimes what made the player so great, you can't teach that thing. Like Jordan just like, man, why don't you do that shot? Because, bro, I can't fade away like you did. You jump 40 feet off the ground with a fadeaway, and your angle you got was so different from mine. I don't even register in my brain to do that because I don't have this I don't have this tool in my toolbox. So Kobe has to shimmy, create a different angle, and then do an extra bump, and then I can fade away. Jordan just like shimmy, turn, and jump over you still. So it's two extra steps that Kobe had to add, but he can teach it now because he understands the game a little bit deeper because his greatness wasn't just his physicality. So I feel like that's another disconnect that greats have because I can't teach you how to be 6'8" and still jumping 40 feet when I'm in year 20 in the league now. I can't teach you that. Luca can't teach you how to be 6'7", 6'8", and see the floor how he sees it. I can't I can't translate that down. That's not a genetic thing that can just be taught. You know what I mean? That's God given. You feel me? So some of the things that the greats have, I can't teach that to anybody. So it's like there's a disconnect there too. So when you have to get out the mud and your skill level is really what made you good. Like I had to have a high basketball IQ to be on this floor. That's what got me. My skills cool, but there's honestly probably like 10 other guys that can shoot just as well as me. My IQ plus this and plus this gets me on this level. So that's another thing that I see that disconnects the greats from being a great coach to transitioning to that to um, other guys.
Yeah, I think me personally, I think great players are better at one-on-one training or coaching, I guess you want to say training, coaching, whatever, than coaching an entire team. Because great players are great individuals. They're great at their position, but I don't think they really like all 9 times out of 10. I don't think they are really great at positioning other guys. You know what I'm saying? Or it's
Hmm.
knowing what to expect from other guys and where they need to be and stuff. Point guards are usually good for it, because point guards have to understand the game, they see the
Yep.
game, and know what guys should be. So point guards are good for that. And I feel like that's why you see more point guards becoming coaches. You got your Jason Kidds, you got your Steve Nashes, your Steve Kerrs.
Yep.
You see more Doc Rivers. You see more point guards become coaches than anything because they have to know
Yep.
the floor, see the floor. They understand different positions and where they need to be.
Hmm.
But when it comes to great players like a Jordan, a Kobe, a Magic, a LeBron, even bigs, because you say bigs don't 9 times out of 10 become great coaches. Hakeem Olajuwon, um, a Patrick Ewing, even though he's coaching now. Those guys, Kareem, those guys are known to like train other bigs. And Magic Johnson said himself, like, yeah, I want to be able to work with a Ben Simmons and train with him without it becoming tampering and whatnot, because I'm working for the Lakers.
Hmm.
And like, but I feel like Magic training Ben or working with Ben would be helpful. And then
Hmm.
you saw Kobe. Kobe worked with Hakeem Olajuwon on footwork and post work and stuff, learning things like that. Hakeem worked with Dwight Howard, all that good stuff. I feel like they're good for that. Now, I ain't gonna
Hmm.
lie. I believe working with like great players that was great at your position, will be a tremendous help. I feel like if you give me a month with Hakeem Olajuwon, I'm coming out with the dream shape. I'm gonna learn some. It might take me a month to get it down, to perfect it or whatever. Might not be perfected, but a month later, I come home. Somebody gonna get this dream shape
Hmm.
and pick up. But I'm a firm believer in that. Like great players can train great individuals. They can give you some of their skill, but coaching takes more than individual skill. You got to know everybody's spot. You got to know where everybody should be, where they fit best, what position they fit in. You know, I think that's the important part of coaching that a lot of great players miss. Like Mike ain't gonna know what a big should be. You know, it's like man, dunker spot. When my best player drive the ball, you'll be right there. You know, or come set him this screen and then roll. That's your job. But if I just don't think great players don't always see everybody as like for what they could be or where their best positions are. You know what I'm saying? And I remember Gilbert Arenas said this. Gilbert Arenas was like, he don't really care who he play with. He gonna get a bucket regardless. But he much rather Anton Jameson been out there because if Anton Jameson is at the four, he can shoot. He spaced the floor a little bit more for me. And if Antoine's man helps, I can kick it to him. He could probably knock it down. But if Brendan Haywood out there and no Antoine Jameson, now the paint clogged up, can't nobody shoot. I'm getting to the lane. I got to score over a big. I don't
Yep.
want that. So I need Antoine. I
Yep.
need Antoine to be out there. And I'm like, see, this is why. This is why. Example number one of
Yep.
why great players don't just become great coaches. Because this is how he saw the game.
Yep.
I'm like, nah, this is the why.
But
But
I do think Gil is still one of those outliers to where like I keep listening to his podcast. He really like thinks the game through. Like he really
oh yeah,
thinks outside of the box and he he's under that Kobe tutelage of how to train and everything too. And so the way he
mm,
sees the game, yes, he sees it from like a selfish standpoint or individual standpoint, but I think he still could be able to translate that to other people to an extent. To an extent, I don't know, which I can't get into this next if you want to, but like I don't know how he would be um Maybe at a youth level he could be really good at it, but I don't know how he would be at a higher level. I don't know. I'm not saying he couldn't be good, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I do think because he does have a certain IQ that is different from just the, because I think he was kind of humble and he played every role. Like when he was in high school, like if you listen to his story, like when he first got to high school, he wasn't the guy. You know, at some point he went to another school, became the guy. Went to Arizona, he wasn't supposed to be the guy. He thought he was gonna be a 3 year player, maybe 4 years, and then he out there. He did two when he was out there. Still became a high pick. Rode the bench. Had to earn his way back up in the NBA. Had to learn how to work at the NBA level. Became the guy again, back to the bench because of injuries and stuff that happens in his career. So he's been from number one to number 15. He's seen all above. So his perspective, he's in that Steve Kerr realm. I've seen everything. So I think he's one of the few outliers that could be a good coach. But at what level, I'm not really sure. But he does have a brilliant basketball mind. Like I respect that man all day with that. But yeah, their perspective on the game is totally different. And I think they, like you said, I think they'll be good on an individual basis. But I think for most of them, it's going to be, like I said, like you don't have to be in a certain room for me to talk to you. You have to fit certain criteria or be a certain level for me to talk to you. Like Gil said this too. He was like, I don't see why most teams don't have great guys still around the organization still, because 95% of the world can't relate to what the superstar level or the organization's number one guy's going through, right? So it's only maybe out of 30 teams, maybe 50 guys who are really high level players, like really, no, 50 is kind of high. No, I'll say 50 be just be nice. Like 50 guys who are really high level players, because some of them will be still in other places. They got three of them on one team, but really high level players. And everybody can't talk their language, really communicate what they're going through. And so Scottie Pippen can. He's been in that position to be number one guy to have this level of pressure on. So why isn't Pippen a part of some organization? Why isn't AI tied to Philly still? Like what? You don't have to be a coach. You don't have to be anything. Why aren't you a consultant at worst case scenario? Why don't we have you in here talking to Joel Embiid? Why aren't we having a conversation with James Harden? Like I would have you on payroll. You come to practices and you come to the games or whatever, and just a conversation. That's really all you have to do, man. This is how you handle being a superstar in Philadelphia. Who else better than Allen Iverson can talk to players like that? You know what I mean? Like this
Hmm.
Patrick Ewing, bro. I know he's coaching in Georgetown, but like New York Knicks, that fan base, hey brother, this is what you do over here. This is not what you do over here. I know Julius Randle, you doing your thing over here, but this is what you do, okay? RJ Barrett, that's how you handle New York media, that's how you talk to him. A coach can say whatever, but it's different. It's different respect coming from that guy. You feel me? So
Facts.
Carmelo Anthony, I know he's still playing, but he was still the number one guy in New York. So even if they aren't great coaches, they still have a level of information that you can't get unless, like Shaq say, like he say G14 classification or whatever he say. Like, will Shaq be a great coach? Eh, you know, no comment. You feel me? But he still has certain knowledge and education that he can give other bigs. Like he's literally giving game on the show of like how to be a great player and dominate and do certain things. But he doesn't have the IQ to really follow through and like strategically do things like that. So when he's talking to Big, no, I know he kind of seems like he's hating, but if you look at the totality of it, you gotta step up your game. What he's saying is basically step up your game in the playoffs. You have to dominate. You have to take over. Like stop this other little stuff you're doing and do this to be great. I've done it. I got four of them things to talk to me. Like, well, Google me, Chuck. So it's like that's why I think great players come in to like it's just funny every time, bro. But I think that's what great players do come in on a more individual basis. Or like we said about Magic, like him and Ben Simmons are the only one of the few guys who can be 6'9", 6'10" point guard or at that level. Like I'm not talking to Steve Nash about his angles. That's him, John Stockton, CP3 conversation because y'all like 6'3" and under. So I do agree with that great players are more on an individual basis. Now being a trainer, that's a whole different conversation. But I do think them giving game coaching or training or teaching or whatever is more of an individual basis than a team basis. But I think that's kind of where they fit in if it does come to that category of giving game.
Yeah, the giving game part of it, I feel like is their best attribute. to giving game to somebody on who could be their level.
Hmm.
I feel like that's their best attribute when we talk about great players. So, is there anything you want to throw? Anything else you want to throw in there? Because I'm finna pivot to something else. I ain't want to take your
Oh,
thoughts
let
on
me look at
that.
my little notes I took. Um, oh, this is a very underrated thing that people don't think about when it comes to coaching, is that
Mhm.
especially at the pro level, like you're at some point the X's and O's are really on the back burner. It's really about being a leader of people and a leader of men, having a very high EQ, not just
Especially in the
basketball
NBA.
IQ, especially NBA, because you're managing egos. Like, let me think of a good example. Kobe and Shaq. That's like Phil Jackson was one of the very few coaches who could have handled that situation very well. Like, and I think some people try to discredit Phil
Mhm.
not being a great coach, and some people try to be like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. You have the greatest player in the game. You're going to win, bruh." Kobe, I'm not Kobe, but
Not necessarily.
you got Michael. I mean, I'm gonna get to Kobe later, but like, this is even wilder. Michael, Scotty, Dennis Rodman. Remove Scotty. Forget him. Michael and Dennis Rodman. How do you manage those two? Like, how does those two work? Like, how does that happen? How do you manage the other guys on your
Mhm.
team and Dennis Rodman? Because Dennis Rodman was one of a kind. Like, how do you do that? Then fast forward to Phil. He had Kobe and Shaq. How in the world do you manage all that? Fast forward again. You had Kobe, Powell, Lamar. Bring Ron Artest in the scene. Bring Matt Barnes in the scene. Like, these aren't just like your average, role play. These are guys who like Kobe, you a wild cracker, bro. Like you will pop off and like go off on everybody. Ron, you will go off on everybody in a different way. Matt, you'll go off on people in a different way. So how do I manage all of these things at one time and keep everybody peacefully basketball wise? That's a whole other chapter of coaching, and that's a whole other book on coaching that I don't know if great players know how to do. Because at the end, like I said, at the end of the day, great players are saying, if something goes wrong, forget whatever else everybody talking about. I can finish this game by myself. Just get me to like the last 5 minutes, and I'll just take over. Like, I don't care anymore. So like 1-4 flat if I'm Gil. Like, forget what your play was. Forget what you thought you was gonna do, but I'm gonna take over and we're just gonna win this game off my strength. Y'all play defense. I'll take care of the game, get a game, win a bucket. That's all it is. And so I feel like the EQ of it, like you said, like with your coach, right? He has to understand the flow of how teams are. So your teammate struggling, right? And I have to understand how he feels, but how do I talk to him and keep him motivated and inspired to keep training, keep practicing, keep working out, be a good teammate, cheer on the bench, and be able to keep my starters motivated, keep them, make sure they're focused and everything is right, and to make sure that my shooter who's struggling stays mentally right to where he's not losing his confidence, and to make sure that my guy who's rolling is keeping it going. That's a lot to manage when you're talking about 15 to 12 guys all in one space. Like, you got one guy over here, girlfriend broke up with him, his heart broken. He got a situation going on back home. He's struggling in school. He hurt his knee. Like, how do you manage all these things at one time? That's a very tough task. So it kind of goes back to, like you're saying, the perspective of the great player. I just know me. I can get you guys like Jordan was going to rope everybody up, time on his back, and I'm like, I'm going to carry y'all where I got to go. Kobe too. But Derek Fisher, I have to sit here and be like the mom and dad dynamic we talked about in the locker room. Man, I'm talking, man, it's all right, bro. You know how Kobe is, man. Kobe just, you feel me? He just, you know how Kobe get, bro. But it's all good, man. You got to do all that. While Shaq on the other side, he throwing chairs and everything, flipping tables. And here come D Fish, man. You know how Shaq get, man. He just trying, he competitive and whatever, man. It's all good, bro.
You
Then he go
need
talk to
that
Shaq.
guy.
Shaq. Then he talked to Shaq. Shaq, chill out, bro. Come on, bro. Like, I know, man. Like, but it's all good, brother. So if you just I know, man, we lost, but if you shot free throws a little bit better, bro, you be all right, man. So you have to manage all the personalities in the locker room, and it's like, as a great player, you don't have to do that. You don't need to, because at the end of the day,
You don't
if
care.
worst come to worst, I'm doing what I need to do. Y'all ain't doing right. I know that's not their mindset, but I'm pretty sure if you ask most of them, that's kind of how they thought. Like, if things go bad, I can rescue the ship. Like, there's a hole in the ship, I can plug it by myself. I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all want to do. Worst case scenario, I can turn the ship around and do what I need to get done. So Phil, get them boys right, because if they don't, I'm finna go off for 50 tonight to get that playbook, get the triangle. It's the Jordan book. So I think the EQ part of it and the managing of egos and personalities and emotions, the EQ part is another thing that I don't know if all great players did it. Because I might talk to you crazy because that's all I do. I talk to everybody crazy. Yeah, I got one level. Like Westbrook, I'm on 10. Like his intensity, that's it. That's all you get from him. But especially in today's game, you can't do that to these players, man. So I feel like the EQ of it is a very underrated part of training, coaching, whatever. That I have to be flexible for my team too, and manage all the personalities and stuff, and be a leader of men and not just basketball players. So I think that's probably the last point I'm gonna get into for this. But that's my last point for now. Unless I think of something else.
Nah, you definitely made a solid point. Like you got to have some emotional intelligence. You got to know how to talk to guys. Got to know how to communicate with different people. How different guys want to be talked to. How they want to be coached. Stuff like that. I've been known as a guy like, um, and some of my former teammates' words. Sometimes you got to cut Nelson out. And this is real. Like my teammate DP, I'm gonna show him this when this come out. he came he came back right, and he's like hooping with us. We having pickup, and I wasn't bringing enough energy. He said, "Man, what's going on, bro? Ain't nobody cussing you this season." And I'm like, nah, nobody's really been cussing me out. But he used to do it though. When me and him used to play, if I was not coming with it on a particular day, he would
Mm-hmm.
like get on my case. He'd get on my head, he'd cuss me out. But I would play harder because I'm like, man, he get on my case, so I play harder.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him used to go to work when we played together. Me and him could play together, but because he knew how to talk to me though. But that ain't everybody. Some people you
Mm-hmm.
cuss them out, you might have a fight on your hands, and you might have
Yeah.
came at them trying to make them play harder, but like now they just mad at you.
Yep.
But me though, I know how to take that. I can take that criticism. I'm like, all right, bro, I got it, bro. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
He'll get on my head. Hey man, this and this and this. You ain't doing this, man. Come on, bro. I'm like, all right, bro, I got it. And but I'll pick it up though. So
Yep.
you absolutely right. You gotta know how to communicate with your guys, man. So
Yep. That's what KD
um
said. He was like, that's a big difference he felt when he went to Golden State because in OKC, he's kind of got his way. Nobody really challenged him or push him like that. Draymond was on his
right.
butt. Hey, bro, what you doing? Like, why you coasting? When you do that here, bro? Like, if you ain't finna play, you might as well sit down and tell Curry to let you ride because we ain't got time for that. KD be like, bro, who you talking to? 30 ball, 40 ball. And he liked that jump because he knew how to talk to him. Nobody would challenge him. So that's why he loved Golden State so much because he's like Draymond would show him that energy. He light him up when nobody else in OKC did that. Not to show throw shade, but he was just like, I didn't have that in OKC, but I came here. Draymond, when he was since when I was just kind of coasting, and maybe other people did, but Draymond was bold enough to talk to me like that and let me know he keep me in check. Like, bro, we ain't doing that. Like, I don't care whatever you feeling, get out of that and go kill tonight. So like, it's like you got to be knowing who you around, how to talk to people, man. That's a hidden art that probably not talked about enough, man. So yeah.
Thanks. Like, and I ain't realized that by myself for a long time. Like, so sometimes you got to get on my case. Like, I'm gonna play harder
Mm-hmm.
though in the long run for it. So, but I always been a guy who could take hard coaching and stuff. It might make me mad in the moment, but I play harder because of it. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, this might be the last thing we get into. We'll see. You know how we get. But I want to throw out something to you. So a little fun fact. So there are currently 25 Hall of Fame players who will become NBA coaches. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's 25 who've done it. Currently, Steve Nash is one, and then Jason Kidd isn't coaching right now. Is he a head coach somewhere?
Yeah, he with the
No,
mask.
he was head coach of the Bucks, but they fired him.
He with the mask right now.
The Mavs. I knew he went somewhere, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jason Kidd's on the list, and then but Steve Nash was like the most recent one to get picked up or whatever. But before
Mm-hmm.
Steve Nash, there was 25 guys that was in Hall of Fame NBA players who become NBA coaches. All right.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them do you think have winning records? How many of them the guys who are Hall of Fame players, how many of them do you think have winning records as coaches?
Mm. If I could see a list of names, I that'll be a big cheat for me. So I'm gonna try to just freestyle this. Um,
I give you, I give you some names.
no, because then I'll
I
probably
give
be
you some
very
of the most
accurate.
known people on the list.
All right, cool, cool, cool. Yeah.
No, I don't think you will. I give you, these are the best players on the list. Let me say this. These are the best players on the list. You
Okay.
got Bill Russell. You got
Mhm.
Jason Kidd, Kevin
Mhm.
McHale.
Mhm.
You got Larry Bird, Jerry West.
Mhm. Mhm.
You got Magic Johnson, Elgin Baylor.
Mhm. Mhm.
Those are some of the best players. Yeah, those are probably the
I'll
best
say
players on the list. But everybody on the list was a Hall of Fame basketball player.
say like five of them, somewhere around five.
Five
Yeah.
is actually seven.
Hmm.
So you was a little bit off. But uh you could drop it to six if you count guys that coach more than 300 games, which is like three and a half. Because it's got the number of games they coached, wins and losses, you know. So it's about so if let me say this, plus 300 games coached is six.
Hmm.
But some guys, only coach for like 2 seasons. But all right, now I got a different one for you. Out of all
Okay.
25 of them guys, how many do you think have won an NBA championship
As a coach.
as a coach? Obviously, they all won NBA championships as a player. How many of them do you think coached a team to the NBA championship?
Yeah. Duh, Brian. Uh, three,
It's
two.
actually five. It's
Ooh,
five.
that's
Lenny
surprising. That
Wilkins,
is surprising.
Casey Jones, yeah,
Okay.
Casey Jones,
Mm-hmm.
Tom Henson, Bill Russell, and a guy named Bill Sharman, whoever that is. But he started coaching in the
K-
60s.
Casey
But
and
then
Bill,
again, and I'm
Casey and Bill low key don't count because they inherited the Red Auerbach Celtics team. Like Bill was a player coach guy, so he technically cheating. Like that's technically
true.
cheating. The old Celtics team that's technically cheating.
Okay, I can give you that. I can give you that. But
No,
all
no,
five of them
no.
guys who
I take
coached
that
the
back
team,
because Casey ended up getting like the Larry Bird version of the Celtics. So I take that back. Casey actually did like coach.
but all five of them guys did coach in the 60s and 70s. So obviously it's a different time. But all the Hall of Fame coaches who won the championship coached during the 60s and 70s.
Mm,
So there's that. I don't know what that means to you, but there you go. So you talking
mm,
about 24% of Hall of Fame players even having a winning record.
mm-hmm.
So that goes to not championship. We ain't talking about championships. We ain't talking about none of that. Coaches of the year awards, none of that. We talking about winning records. And I'm looking at the records. Some of them are bad. Some of them are bad. I'm talking about 180 and 208, uh, 202 and 345.
mm,
It's 79 and 143.
mm.
There's some bad ones.
Looking rough.
So, dog, I shouldn't even count Magic Johnson for real. Magic Johnson coached for 16 games.
Yeah, he had a real he had a
So
cup of
he
coffee as a
probably should
coach and
give
he
me
walked back around.
somebody got sick. And they said, Magic, you want to coach? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then I also found this list of like uh, Hall of Fame coaches um, with the worst records, basically.
Mm,
And Wes Unseld is the worst one. Wes Unseld coached for 7 seasons. He had 202 wins and 345 losses.
mm,
So Yeah, not that good.
Yeah, it's hard out there for a coach, man.
But he only it's hard out there for a player. That's a coach. They said he got two winning seasons. His first two seasons were winning records, and then the next 5 years were terrible. So
Dang,
I don't know what happened, but like did he want like them next 5 years? He averaged winning 26 games a year for five
that's crazy.
years.
That's crazy.
That's terrible. So yeah, that I just wanted to throw that out there. That like we didn't make that up. Like great players are not great coaches. Matter of fact, a quarter of Hall of Fame players becoming coaches even have winning records. Like,
Yeah,
and nobody that's the Hall of Fame player has won a championship as a coach since the 70s. So
yeah.
you talking about 40 years. But and I also wanted to ask you this: who do you think is the best player turn coach? Like that's like the
Ooh,
best of both worlds. Like a good player, good coach. Who do you think was the best? And we're not gonna count Bill Russell and them, like you said. So let's think about a player that was good as a player and good as a coach. Who do you think is the best of both worlds that we know of?
Larry Bird. I think
You
he was
think so?
probably the best because he was part. He coached
I'm finna look at his record.
that Pacers team with Reggie and them. Him and Rick Carlisle were like the coaches at that time. I think Larry Bird might have been the best. Jerry West, he might have been a great coach, but pretty much everything else he touched, as higher ups, touched the goal. Like he was part of Lakers, part of the he's part of the Warriors staff. He was part of the Grizzlies for a minute. I think he's about the grit and grind era. He's part of that. Like pretty much every organization he was a part of had success while he was there. So I don't know about him as a coach, but him as an executive and higher up, Jerry West was he still has a magic touch. So, but as strictly like you said, player and coach, I think Larry Bird might have been the best because he got to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think so. He had pretty successful. I don't know his record or nothing, but just from what I think about with him, the stories I heard, I think he's up there. Look, let's be serious, man. Stop playing around. All right, you didn't got too comfortable. You didn't got relaxed. You forgot that you still got people behind you chasing you right now. You still got people to catch up to. You think just because you won a championship or you had a pretty good game last time that you can relax now. We ain't worry about none of that stuff. Your goal right now is to look at how you were yesterday. Look at the player you were last night. Figure out how to be better than that person. Right now is you versus you. Your goal right now is to make progress than the person that you were last night, the person that you were yesterday. Beat the person this week should be the person from last week. The person this month should be the person from last month. On the court and off the court. Personal development too. So right now, progress is the only goal. We ain't worried about what other people got going on. Focus on progress. It's you versus you. It's me versus me. So that right there is your mission. That's your goal. I don't care about who say the best in state is. Who I don't care about any of that. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. I don't care if you struggling to make the team. I don't care if you the last player they're looking at to make the team. We ain't worry about none of that. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. I don't care if you're the number one player in the nation. Could care less. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. So go ahead and get you one of these because you need that reminder because you got too comfortable. That's the issue. You got too comfortable. This can't get you comfortable right here. So go ahead, get you a reminder, get you like a flag hanging as a reminder to say progress is the only goal.
All right, but but Larry Bird's a good pick. That's a good pick because Bird got a winning record. He one of the guys with a winning record. Bird is
Mm.
147 and 67.
Mm.
So even though that's only just over 200 games, because like I said, he didn't coach 300, so he probably coached about 3 seasons, or like right at 3 seasons.
Yeah, I know he can coach
But
too long.
Yeah, but still winning record 147-67. So that's twice as many wins as losses, more than twice as many wins as losses. So solid pick. Not gonna lie about that. But I can't lie. I think, to be real with you, I think it's got to be Doc Rivers. I think Doc Rivers is probably the best of both worlds that we didn't got since the early days.
Hmm.
Doc Rivers was a solid point guard, starting point guard. Didn't do, I mean, wasn't a Hall of Famer or nothing like that, but solid point guard. We played with Dominique Wilkins in the Atlanta Hawks. You know, had a good career, not a great career, a good career. And then we all know Doc Rivers now. Got his championship with the Celtics in '08. Coached the team to the finals. That Celtics team went to the finals back to back. Uh, Went to the Clippers organization, kind of turned them around, even though they didn't really make it to the Western Conference Finals. Uh, he turned them around, got them going in the right direction. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so and then Orlando. Forgot about Orlando before Boston. He got them to the playoffs and like got them to the finals one year before they lost to the Spurs. But the team he had, true, they was good now. But I mean, one thing I say about Doc's teams have never had like a minus Kawhi Leonard. I give you Kawhi Leonard. Minus Kawhi Leonard, Doc's teams have never had like a LeBron, Kobe, status guy. They've never had like the number one guy in the league. You know what I mean? Orlando, it was Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard, Hito Turkoglu.
He wasn't the coach
Still,
then,
yes, he was. Well, he coached the early Orlando Magic.
but he didn't coach the finals team. Them.
Yes, they did. I could have swore he was the coach when they went to the finals.
No, he was out of there. Cause think about it, that was the '09 year when they went to the finals. He was coaching the Celtics then.
That was '09. I thought it was before
Yeah,
that.
the
I,
white
I
got
might be
drafted
tripping.
in '04, and by he was the Celtics coach in like 6, 7 year, and that's when the year they
Oh,
got KG in them, the 7, 8.
okay.
That was
I
like
might have been tripping.
Van Gundy might have been the coach then.
Okay,
Yeah, Van
I might
Gundy.
have been
Yeah,
tripping. Then. All right, but
he was early 2000s Magic
uh,
coach. By the late 2000s, he was with the Celtics.
okay, my bad. But Doc got them to the playoffs after
Yeah,
Shaq, post Shaq. Post Shaq and Penny, they was kind of in no man's land for a little while, and Doc got them going in the right direction before going to Boston. They make the trade for KG. He get them a ring. They go to the finals twice, back to back. And then LeBron went to Miami, and that was the end of all that. But
yeah.
and then now then he went to the Clippers, turned them around, got them going in the right direction. And something about them Clippers, they couldn't get over that hump in the Western Conference. Like couldn't get to the Western Conference Finals. But
Mm-hmm.
that's all right. And now he in Philly. Now, and granted, we kind of be knocking Doc for a lot of stuff going on now because he had a little rough go of it. But
Yep, yep.
but he's still a great coach and accomplished something. Everywhere he's gone, they've been winning. They might not have won it all, but everywhere he's gone, they've won. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so we got to put respect on that. And so I think Doc is probably the best of both worlds that we've seen, or we have had in a long, long time. But Bird is good too.
I think that's a trade off because, like you said, Doc didn't have a great career. He just had a solid playing career. He wasn't bad. He was solid. And as a coach, he's been pretty good. He won a ring. He's been fairly good. He's been very consistent. He's always been mentioned a higher end of coaching.
Right.
Um, he's had a slight drop off. He took a step back as far as for sure how we perceive him as a coach. Now his record still stands of when's the last time he's not been in the playoffs? I don't know. So that with that being said, it's kind of I get it now because you if you want to be mentioned certain talks, you have to have you have different standards and expectations now. So we can't hold you to the standard of these upper echelon coaches by just saying get to the playoffs. Like at some point, getting to the playoffs is not enough. That's the minimum. Like like if LeBron said, "Oh, we made it to the playoffs every year," and that's
Okay.
that's cute. Like that's, you want a
Supposed to make it to
cookie?
the playoffs.
Like that's what you're supposed to do, bro. You chasing a goat in Chicago? That's no. You want to talking about like an actual Billy goat the one you chasing because Michael Jordan is not that standard of player you're trying to chase. So if we're talking about Doc Rivers being the upper echelon of coaches, just making it to the playoffs is not enough anymore. We're talking about Western Conference Finals at minimum. That's the minimum we're looking for, or Eastern Conference now being in Philly. So uh, we're talking about championship caliber coaching again. Like you did it once, can you do it again now? That's the thing he's chasing. He's trying to figure that out. And then for Bird, when I talk about his playing career, like that's solidified. Like he's people Mount Rushmore. He's a Celtics Mount Rushmore, arguably the greatest Celtic all time. That's really like a 3-man race that you can debate between. Uh, but it's playing career solidified. He's here. Coaching career is a little more questionable only because it was so short. You don't have enough sample size to really say how great of a coach he was. Like you said, he almost had like almost 100 more wins than he had losses, which is very impressive. I didn't know he was that good. I know he was pretty solid because I know he made it to like the Eastern Conference Finals and he had a good run. He had like the late Reggie years of that team, early 2000s, maybe late 90s. He was coaching that team, so um, I didn't know he was that good in his coaching career. I know he was really good, but I didn't know he was that good. So it's a slight trade off because Doc the player, Doc the coach, Bird the player, Bird the coach is less than, but he's closer to being a great coach matching his player than Doc is matching his player isn't catching up to his coaching, but his coaching is taking a slight step back still. So it's a trade off, man. So it's not a bad pick at all. Somebody I want to throw at you, man. He's very, 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 very underrated as a coach. But T. Lou, how you feel about him?
Mm, how good was T. Lue as a player?
He was a solid, he was a solid. He was a solid. um,
All we remember, let's be real now. We all know what we remember T. Lue for as a player.
step over you.
We all remember. T. Lue might have been, for all we know, T. Lue averaged 20 and 10 a game. But
Don't
all we
even matter.
remember, all we remember, over the top, man,
Oh
come on,
man.
dog. And I feel bad. I feel bad. But doggone it, it happened to you. Don't let it be you.
Oh man, that's
And
funny.
Allen Iverson said it too. He said, I hate that happened. I hate that with T. Lue because I like T. Lue.
He said he didn't even try to. He just like he knew he failed. He just like make sure he step on him, and it
All right.
it just looked disrespectful because it is low key. But he wasn't doing it
Uh,
intentionally. He had no malice behind it. It was just
yeah.
it
And
is what
I
it was.
said, I hate that that happened to T. Lue because I love T. Lue. That's my boy.
Yep.
He a good dude. But man, so
Oh,
I mean, but his coaching is great. Like he a solid coach. He done established himself.
mm-hmm.
Every year. I'm pretty sure he made the playoffs every year. He was with the Lakers for a little while as an assistant,
Mm-hmm.
and before the Lakers, he kind of was with he kind of been following LeBron some kind of odd way because he was with Cleveland, then he was with the Lakers, then finally got this head coaching opportunity in with the Clippers. We'll see what he do there, but he just ain't had enough coaching, head coaching,
Yeah.
experience to do both. So I mean, for him to be in that combo, I think the next best man after what we done name is it got to be Steve Kerr. Really, Steve Kerr probably number one, but we just don't put a whole lot of respect on it because of who he didn't have. But the most recent ring they won, got to give it to him. So
Yeah.
and we we still kind of feel like we talked about this before. We still kind of feel like he didn't put this team together. He kind of inherited it, and and then KD came, and it was like, so well, all you gotta do is show up. So, but they just won them one in the realest way possible. So you gotta give them all their credit. And
Yeah.
so
But
Steve.
I think you could possibly throw Phil Jackson in there because he won one with I think the only ring the Knicks have. He was part of that. I don't know
Yeah,
how
he
many
was.
rings the Knicks they got one.
As an organization,
Yeah.
I think they got two.
Well, I know he was part of at least one of them. So
Yeah.
that's all I know. So he won with them in the '70s, I believe.
Hmm.
And
Willis
you
Reed
know,
and all them.
yeah, we know what he did in his coaching career. That's goaded.
Yeah.
So no need to talk about
So
that. But I think he's in that list of that's tough, man. Because like let's go back to the point earlier, man. It's usually like role players who turn out to be great, amazing coaches. So like Steve
hmm
Kerr, he was not the number one guy in the pros, but coaching career, he
solid.
if he retire right now, bro, he could arguably be Hall of Fame. Like that's how solid his coaching career is.
Oh yeah.
So
It's so we kind of just came up with like a little mini top four, top five. It's like in well, we gonna say in no particular order. Steve
yeah,
Kerr, Phil Jackson, Doc Rivers, possibly Ty Lue with a little bit more coaching experience. Um, Larry Bird,
hmm
that's four, and Ty Lue made five, I guess.
I
So
think if I gave him more thought, T. Lue would not be on that list because as a
mm,
coach, what has he actually done? Like he won a ring with the
exactly.
Cavs, but you know what I mean. Like
Off
it's
the
not
back of
enough.
the best basketball performance we just seen in our lifetimes.
And so, like he could chalk it up to being, like you said, it's kind of like, oh, you got LeBron, so it's kind of like, whatever. Like, people try to throw shade at people's coaching, but at the end of the day, man, it's still a lot he had to do. Like I said before, it's not just managing LeBron. You have to make sure Kevin Love straight, is Kyrie straight, is J.R. Smith straight. Like that whole debacle with him, the turnover, like he could have shot at it, like the whole situation with the free. Yeah, that's a lot to manage. And so, how do you get the six man back on track and keep LeBron straight and keep your big man and keep the seventh man who ain't been playing, this guy being injured, and how do you manage all that stuff going on too? So I think that's part of his credit for that. But I can't throw him top five yet. If I gave him more thought, I would probably come up with a better um fifth person. But since my mind is not giving me a good answer right now, I will probably say him. Um yeah, that's all
Yeah,
I can think about
no,
right now. So
no,
yeah.
I'm good with that. Like I said, most of the guys that was great players and great coaches, they kind of coached in the 60s, 70s. So it's like,
Yeah.
it was 22 teams. But we respect them, but for it's just
It's
something
just
for us.
it's different. Like, oh,
It's
if you
different.
want to throw college in there too, I throw Jawan Howard in that ranking. I might take him over T. Lue. I might take him over T. Lue.
How good was Jawan Howard as a player?
As a
Now,
player,
college, yes. Pro, he was
injuries
okay.
messed him up. He was supposed to be a way better than what he was. Injuries messed him up.
I give you that. I give you
Yeah,
that.
he
Injuries,
was. I think he was an all star. I think he was rookie of the year. Like early in his career, he was that dog. Like he was supposed to be the man. Injury kind of messed him up, and he took a back seat. But coaching career right now, Michigan, he got them boys back on track. Big Blue doing his thing. He had a couple incidents that kind of messed him up. I'm so
mhm,
glad that they didn't derail him like it could have, and like a lot of us thought he would have. So
yeah.
super glad that this situation turned out better than what a lot of us thought. So hopefully he can keep progressing like he's been doing, trending in the right direction, and bring one of them things home for Big Blue, even if it's just the Big Ten championship again. But I would like to see him on Final Four
The
stage
national
and higher.
stage.
Yeah, so I really like he made me become a Michigan fan to an extent just because of him. Like I just want
Just
you to
want
see
him to
you win, bro.
succeed.
Just succeed, bro. That's all I want for you, man. Like, cause he's not just like a traditional just black coach. He got a certain swag to him. He carries himself a certain way. That's just like you one of us, bro. Like you ain't just like you one of us, but you also one of us too. You feel
Yeah,
me?
he
So
was one of them Fab Five. He part of basketball culture.
exactly. So it's just something different when you see Juwan Howard name on there, man. So um I really hope he does well, man. I'm gonna try to keep up with him a little bit more this year, and to see. Hoping I wish him all the best, man. Hope that man can bring one of them home for them boys. At least another Big Ten a title, but hopefully Final Four and further on. But salute to Juwan.
Yes, sir, for sure. For the hoop culture for sure,
Yeah. Oh
always.
yeah.
But yeah, man, that's all I want to throw out there on the subject, man. Just wanted to shed a little more, put a little more knowledge into it. Like we ain't just making this up. Great players ain't always great coaches. So,
Hmm.
but is there anything else you want to throw in there, man?
Man, we could go a whole different direction talking about upper management with ownership and GMs and presidents and stuff. That's a whole other. That would be a whole other episode, man. So,
Man,
like I said, Jerry West is probably the GOAT when it comes to that end of it. Like
yeah, for sure, for sure.
that's nobody's touching that, bro. Like that's nobody. Like, oh my goodness, that's untouchable,
Player
man. But
turn GM, yeah.
he's
Him and like Danny Ainge, maybe. That's
yeah,
about it.
but that's a real slim list, man. Like even ownership, because Mike's the only owner, and
We know.
so yeah. Anyway, next one. Next topic, but nah, man.
Man,
So there's nobody else that's really. I think it's probably the only two people you can have a conversation around when it comes to that, So, but no, that's it, man. As a coach, there's not too many great players that transition to the next level as a coach or a GM or any type of executive position besides being a player that do that well. So that's my reasoning why, man. So if you didn't notice it, I'm gonna just spoil it for you guys right now. I have to renege on who I felt like the best player transition to coach is, and it's Dawn Staley. Okay, the career she had as a player is like great. WNBA, legend, Hall of Fame caliber, just legend on that end. Go, this is amazing what she did. She turned around and flipped to be a great coach at the collegiate level, and she's been amazing on that end so far. So hold on, let me get you guys. Okay, so she hooped at Virginia, right? Did her thing there. She was amazing. She was great. Then she turned around and said, "Guess what, guys? I'm gonna go to the WNBA and do my thing at the league." While she was still playing, she turned around and said, "I'm gonna coach at the same time." So she played at WNBA and then coached at Temple. Amazing. Okay. Then she turned around Temple organization, went Atlantic 10, ran through that. It was great. Flipped went to the SEC, South Carolina, do her things, so on and so forth. So as a player, WNBA, she's a six-time All-Star. Um, she was a two-time Naismith College Player of the Year. She's two-time ACC Player of the Year. As a coach, she went to a two-time tournament champion. She won that thing two times. She's two-time champion. D1 level, you feel me? It's amazing. Seven-time ACC tournament champion, seven-time regular season champion of the ACC, three-time Naismith Coach of the Year awards. She was the AP Coach of the Year. She's the six-time ACC Coach of the Year. She did great at Atlanta 10, two-time Coach of the Year. She won three gold medals as a player, Olympics, and then she won two gold medals in the World Cup, and then bronze or World Cup. She, as a head coach, she won Olympic gold medal. She won World Cup gold medal. She won two golds in the FIBA American Cup. I keep going on and on about Dawn Staley. She's a great woman. She is an advocate and one of the front-facing women for pushing women's sports to the next level. She's been a stand-up woman and high caliber woman, high character woman. She's been amazing. So for me to omit her and not remember her during this episode was a big lapse and big mistake on my part. But I'm on up to it here and let you guys know I failed and left her out. But she is number one of one when it comes to players transitioning to coach. I don't think anybody is on that level. I think she might be on a level of her own. I mentioned other people who are great, doing their thing, but I think Dawn Staley is hands down the best player transitioning to coach, and she can hold her own on either caliber as just a player, just a coach. But on that caliber, on that class of both, she's probably number one for me of the top tier player and top tier coach. So that's why I don't say this probably number one for me. And I had to come back and let you guys know I messed up, made a mistake by not having her on here. So let me guys know what you think here. And that's it from me, man. But appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. But that's it. See you. Have a good one. Yeah, I think that's it, man. So close us out, bro. Unless you got something else you want to add.
no, I'm good, man. Put Jerry Colangelo in charge of the Charlotte Hornets. But but man, that does it for another episode of the BeBall Jones podcast, man. We appreciate y'all for listening. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Be sure to like, subscribe. Be sure to drop down in the comments. Let us know what you think, man. Let us know if we missed any great players turn coaches. Let us know if we tripping. Maybe do y'all think great players can become great coaches? But you gotta give us some people. Like, you can't just say it. You gotta name some folks. You know, you gotta come with some facts. You know, we ain't about just talking right here. We about actions. But yeah, man. So be sure to do that for us. Be sure to follow Brian on all social medias at BeBall Jones. That's BeBall Jones on all social media platforms. Be sure to follow me at NellyH34 on Twitter, at Nelson.Haskin on IG, and find me at my name on Facebook. We like to keep the conversation going on over there. Be sure to follow the podcast on TikTok. Got a lot of good clips up there already. If you want to check out what we kind of talk about, some episodes you may have missed, there's always some clips on TikTok for you to check out. But that does it for us, man. We hope y'all enjoyed it. We appreciate y'all for listening. Be sure to turn in. Be sure to tune in next week for another great episode, man. Might be a debate, might be another interview with another person, and it might just be another good little conversation that we want to have. Chop it up with y'all about. So be sure to tune in next week, man. Gotta come next week to find out. But that does it for us, man. We once again we appreciate it. And without further ado, man, we out.